What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? It is Austin in China coming at you live through the power of the internet. And I'm in Shanghai. I'm at an Airbnb right now. Can't be bothered with a hostel on the weekends because there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in my CELTA course. I finished week 2. I finished the first stage of the course. We're moving into the second stage. And after probably Monday or Tuesday, things are going to start settling down. And because things are very crazy right now, and we'll talk about it. So I'm going to just kind of run you through the last week and what's been happening, and then at the end I'm going to offer some advice, some ways that you can make things easier on yourself, and then just end it there. So what's been happening? This past week has been nuts in terms of like receiving information. And I asked my tutor about this, and he said just as much. He said, during the first stage of the course, first 2 weeks of the course, I'm half done, by the way. I'm halfway done. That's crazy. Anyway, during the first stage of the course, the tutors try to overload you with information. They try to give you as much information in as short of a time as possible, which can, really mess with people's heads. And it did mess with mine for a little bit. I got real foggy. I've been real foggy about the last 48 hours. So, but that's also because not much sleep due to unrelated reasons. But yeah, they try to overload you with all this information. And then the second stage of the course, it's more about taking that knowledge, processing it, and showing the tutors and showing, well, the students that you're using the stuff that they've given you. You're using these ideas and these methodologies and these tools that you've been given, and that you are committed, to doing what's best for the students. So I'm kind of excited about that part. I was very excited to look at the timetable for week 3 and see that there's like somewhere between 1.5 to 3 hours each day blocked out for independent lesson planning or just research or whatever. Like, I was very excited to see that. And the second half of the course is more about like polishing that information and polishing you as a teacher instead of giving you all this new stuff. So it's cool. Like, over the past couple weeks, there has been a lot of paperwork given out. So this is my sort of unofficial CELTA notebook, and I have an official CELTA notebook that has more papers in it. It has my lesson plan materials, and it's got my feedback sheets, and it's got my blue CELTA book, which has kind of all of the assessment, it just has some other information in it. So you can see there's quite a lot of stuff that's been given out. And I also have this notebook that's got, I don't know, I'd say this is probably about somewhere between 20 to 30 pages of notes in it, as well as quite a lot of notes written on all these individual papers as well. So you can see there's a lot of information coming in. There's a lot of information coming in. So my quick advice for that would just be hold on. You'll be all right. Just hold on. Hold on. Hold on. You'll be all right. I didn't find it terribly stressful. Not yet. If I had slept more, I wouldn't have found it really stressful at all. But because I hadn't slept more, I hadn't slept enough. My brain wasn't able to really process things as efficiently, and it made things kind of foggy. So yeah, get enough sleep. And something that's happening next week, starting next week, is we're switching to elementary, and we're switching to elementary level students. Before, my group and I had been teaching intermediate students, which it was fun. I really enjoyed those kids. They were great. I shouldn't say they were kids. They were in their 20s. But yeah, the switch will be interesting because we're also going to be with a different tutor. So elementary level, teaching simpler language, You have to kind of hold their hand a little bit more, give very clear instructions, ask them lots of questions to make sure they understand the concepts you're teaching and the words you're teaching, making things very visual for them, because most people pick things up by looking at them, right? Most of us are visual learners, so yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm kind of excited about that, and I'm just excited to show the tutors that I am honestly trying to be better. My tutor said that something I really need to work on is that I don't give enough time for free practice. The free practice, we're just letting the students go. You give them a task and you just say, go for it. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to interfere. I'm just going to sit back here for a while. I might listen in, I might take some notes, but the task is yours. Use the language I've given you and go for it. I haven't done that as much as I should have. He said I'm very good at controlled practice where, I might give them exercises or I might give them a task that, and I let them go a little bit, but I supervise to make sure that they're doing things accurately instead of, versus doing them fluently. So I'm very good at getting students to use accurate language and say things in the right way, but I don't let them go as much. So I'm going to work on that. That's going to be my main goal for the second half of the course. Something else that's happening is there's so many assignments that are going on because, as you're planning lessons, you have to produce a cover sheet which has all of your aims on it. It's kind of your aims, anticipated problems for classroom management, target language, the language you want them to use, language that you think they already know, things like that. And then you've got another page where if you teach them new, grammatical patterns, like new sentence patterns, or maybe a new verb tense or something, you have to analyze that. You have to give a model sentence that you're going to use in your lesson, and then analyze the part of speech of every word, and then you have to talk about what the sentence actually means. Like, what does it mean? When is it being used? You draw like a little timeline to represent the time, and then you talk about problems that learners might have in understanding the meaning. And then you offer solutions for those problems. And then you do the same thing for form, the grammar. So like if the students, make a grammar mistake, then you have to anticipate all of the mistakes that could happen. And then you have to offer solutions. How would you explain or how would you give feedback for those mistakes? And then you have to move on to pronunciation, where you write out the phonemic script, and then you go over and you write all of the problems that might happen in pronunciation. So, and then you have to offer solutions for that. And then you have to do the same thing again if you're teaching any new vocabulary. So then you have another sheet, or 2 or 3 or however many, of new words, and then you analyze all that for the meaning, the pronunciation, the form of all those. So it's a lot of work. And on top of those, you also have homework assignments. So the homework assignments, you have to do those forms in relation to a text that they give you. That's the first assignment, which I'm resubmitting on Monday. So I have to finish that. I think I have finished it. And then there was another assignment that they gave us last week that has to be on Monday as well. And that was, you have to find an authentic text written by native speakers for native speakers. And then you have to create a receptive skills task, so like reading. You have to create a reading task, so questions. And then you have to come up with a productive task, so maybe like speaking. Okay, and then you have to write out stuff saying why you used it, and then with quotes, researched and all this, like why this is a good thing to do. And then there's another assignment where you have to interview students, and then you have to figure out what the students need. So you have to look at different lexical gaps or lexical errors. You have to look at phonological errors and weak areas. You have to look at grammatical errors and what the problems are and how to fix those problems. Then you also have to give information about their background and what they like and things like that. So we interviewed our students last night. So we've got some information. I don't have time to explain this, but we've gotten some information from our students here. And then we're going to take all of that. So, I mean, I've got 3 assignments right now on top of the regular teaching and all the information processing. So there's a lot to handle. But let's talk about how we can handle all this stuff. How can you make the CELTA course as easy as possible on yourself? First of all, the thing is, you got to know this is not a course for lazy people. It's not a course for a minimalist. It's not a course for someone who's you got to have the right motivations, I suppose. Otherwise, you're not going to get everything out of it that you should. First of all, time management. Manage your time. Don't go out. Don't do stuff with your friends. One of the guys in my group, he went out on Saturday. He's like, "Oh, Saturday, I turned my brain off and I went, to do this thing. I went out with my kids and blah blah blah." And then we talked to him on Monday, and he said, "Oh my God, I really regret going out. Like I'm so behind. I have so much to do." And I'm like, "Well, we told you, man. Like, don't do that." Manage your time. Whenever you get time, do some stuff. Do some stuff, because time is money, man. Time is precious. So do that. Also, sleep. Sleep enough. And if possible, get a private hotel room or an Airbnb or something, which is where I am. I'm at an Airbnb for the weekend. Shanghai is very expensive, so I can't really afford. I've been staying in a dorm, and it's so hard to get a good night's sleep, and it's really been messing with my mind some days of the course. So I would suggest go the Airbnb route or something. And also, work with the people in your group. Do your best to try and form relationships and work together, because you'll have somebody you can bounce, or some bodies, I guess, some people you can bounce ideas off of, and they can bounce ideas off of you. You can meet for 30 minutes or something and just talk about stuff. Just talk about stuff. And, that's a really good thing to do. Please do that. And also, read before the course. Do your homework before the course gets started, because things are going to be so much easier during the first 2 weeks, especially if you've done your reading. So if you read Learning Teaching by Jim Scrivener, for example. If you read How to Teach English by Jeremy Harmer. If you read, what's that book? I think it's like On the Practice of English Language Teaching. Another book by Jim Scrivener. Or Sound Foundations by Adrian Underhill. I think there's another book called How Sounds Are Made. Watch the Adrian Underhill pronunciation workshop. That's really going to help a lot, because I was very comfortable with the pronunciation aspect. So when we had our pronunciation input session, I was good to go. I didn't even need to listen. I could have just turned my brain off for those 2 hours. It was completely normal. Find out what books the CELTA likes. I'll put a few down below. See, I think it's really going to help you out a lot, because you could essentially turn your brain off during those input sessions, or you can be the source of knowledge that everyone kind of comes to, and the tutors are going to like that. If they notice that everyone's flocking to you for information and for knowledge, then that's going to be great. It's going to be really good for you. They see that you have a lot of theoretical knowledge, which is what my tutor said to me. You have a lot of theoretical knowledge. We can tell that you did a lot of reading and a lot of research before the course. I said, well, thanks. I did. Yeah, I did. So that'll be really good for you. I'm trying to think of what else. Caffeine helps. Caffeine helps. I don't drink a lot of sodas. But I need them. I need them. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of what else. I can't think of any other like really pressing advice that kind of really stands out to me. 'Cause I feel like those little bits are going to be good for you. So yeah, I hope that this video has been helpful, and I hope it's almost 16 minutes. Good Lord, I can talk a lot. Okay. Thanks very much for watching. I've got my assignments to work on. I've got to do a lot of stuff, so I will talk to you all later. Thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all next time.